Welcome to your guided tour of Adept for Plant and Asset Management. This video shows you how Adept helps you effectively manage your engineering documents, information, and processes throughout the product lifecycle, from design through construction, operation, and ongoing maintenance. There are various ways, based on your user's needs and roles, to control and access your documents and information in Adept. We'll begin in the Adept desktop client shown here. Adept's interface is designed to be simple and easy to use. At the top, you'll notice our simple toolbar. These are the most commonly used commands. Each of Adept's users can make Adept look and feel the way they want it to. I have mine set up in a way that allows me to demonstrate many different features of Adept, but you'll have the ability to arrange the interface to your specific needs and change it as your needs change. Whether you are in design mode searching for drawings, or on the plant floor performing maintenance and searching for manuals or as-built design documents, the first two questions typically asked are, how quickly can I locate my documents, and how do I know I'm finding the latest approved version? Finding documents is the most common task Adept helps with. You may use the quick search feature to quickly find documents of interest based on the information you know about your documents. These are all the documents that I have access to whose name begins with 533. The great part about Adept is I can do this same search on any piece of information that I know about my documents. I can search by PNID, job number, maybe even plant name. These are all the documents for West Canyon plant. You may also do a full text search. Let's say a maintenance engineer has found a defect in a particular power harness. It wants to find all related files that reference the model number P6. These are all the documents that have the text P6 somewhere inside them. Note the results include CAD documents, Word, Excel, and even PDFs. The engineer can quickly see all references and documentation of interest. You may also search for documents using a data card. This allows you to search using one or more pieces of information that you know about your documents. For example, as a project manager, I may search within my project for documents pertaining to the East Plains plant for a report that I want to generate. If this is a search that I do often, I can save the search criteria and later recall it to repeat the search. Viewing the search results, you control the information listed about your documents by adding or removing columns of information. You can save your column selections as a column set, edit them, and even recall them later to reproduce your view. To report on this information, you may choose between printer reports or exporting the information to a spreadsheet or text file. Because of Adept's open architecture, you can also use standard reporting tools like Crystal Reports. The information gathered about documents is logically grouped and displayed via a library card. Each document in Adept has a library card associated with it. The Adept library card collects business-critical information about your documents. Every customer has a different library card tailored to display the information that's important to them. This library card was designed for our designers or engineers and contains information that's critical to them. They required certain document information, project info for emergencies or questions. If an engineer wants to share an image or notes with construction about a document, the memo field becomes invaluable and is a great way to share and store that information. And finally, the thumbnail, which gives you a quick peek at your documents. As you know, plant and asset management includes a very diverse group of stakeholders and roles. But one view of information does not fit all. Your operation and maintenance teams have their information needs. Project managers have a set of information that's important to them. Contractors and vendors see things yet through another set of eyes. The goal of the library card is to provide a meaningful and intuitive view for each person. They may choose a library card, or you may assign one to them. Creating your library cards is an easy drag and drop process. The fields of information may come directly from attributes in AutoCAD, tags from MicroStation, or properties from Inventor, SOLIDWORKS, and even Word and Excel. These fields are dynamically linked to fields in Adept, so when a change is made in a CAD or Microsoft document, your library card is automatically updated. You may designate some fields as required. This means that Adept will make sure this field is populated whenever a document is added or signed into the vault. Or you may provide a drop-down list of options for the user to choose from. This guarantees that things are spelled correctly, are used consistently throughout your organization, and improves data integrity. In some cases, you may allow some users to update a field in the library card. This can in turn update the actual document. This is also available in batch mode. If you have 100 files with the client name Hanson that just changed their company name to ABC Corporation, you can update all files in one step without having to open each file and make the change over and over again. If you have information about your documents in a database or in an Excel spreadsheet, Adept has a built-in tool to import that information and begin filling out your library cards for you. Adept leverages this valuable information to provide another way of locating your documents, called the File Guide view. Adept has a unique and logical way for everyone to browse their documents in a way that makes sense to them. It's called the File Guide. The File Guide creates a tree structure that looks and feels like Windows Explorer, but is actually based on any combination of information that you track about your documents. We'll often ask you to interview your different teams and ask them what are the 2 or 3 things that you know about your documents when searching for them. The answer to that question is typically a great start for a file guide view that is meaningful to them. For example, team members in HVAC may like their documents sorted by plant and then discipline. They can drill into their plant and right to the documents that are important to them. Project managers may have a different view. They like their documents organized by project name, plant, and then discipline. They can view all documents for their project or then drill down into the various plants and disciplines within that plant. Team members in maintenance may like to view theirs by job number and then product type. Again, get right to the documents that are important to them in a logical, useful way. Creating new views is a simple drag and drop process, which means your views can change as your needs change. Adept also comes with an entry called the Library Browser. This is your Windows folder structure when Adept is put in place. So for all those people that are familiar with the Windows folder structure, that capability is still there. It is important to note that Adept does not scramble, move, or encrypt your documents into a database. If you have other systems and applications that need access to these files, they will find the latest version in the same place with the same name every time. This is a key point and the reason why many users choose Adept. Let's take a look at our relationship browser to see more information about our documents. Once we select a document, the relationship browser provides valuable information that can be used to make knowledgeable, accurate decisions. In Adept, you always find the latest approved version of your documents. Only if you select the Versions tab in the relationship browser do you see the history of the document. Adept tracks a version for each document signed in, as well as revision that can be updated by you at the proper time or, if you choose, automatically bumped up by Adept, say at the end of an approval process. Let's take a look at some of the other information you know about this document in the relationship browser. The audit trail shows you every action taken on this document, whether it's been signed out, marked up, approved in a workflow, printed, viewed, even emailed. This is very important for compliance with different certifications. A real-world example is ISO certification. The fact that you know with certainty you are finding the latest approved document tracking revisions through the audit trail, and that it can be filtered, searched through, and reported on, finally makes internal and external audits a confident, manageable process. Adept is very strong in managing relationships between your drawings and documents. It reads references directly from your native AutoCAD and MicroStation files, as well as SolidWorks and Inventor files that includes assemblies and parts. It displays information about those children on the Children tab. You can see pieces of information about each child, and you control the columns of information that are displayed. You may also define manual relationships between your documents. Adept manages those as well. Where used, listed documents or drawings that reference the selected drawing. I know that this piping layout drawing is referenced by this change notification. This drawing is referenced by two other drawings. So if I make a change to the pump house design, I'm impacting two other drawings. You know the scope of your change and what it will affect. With a quick look at the status, we know if someone else is working on related drawings, and it allows us to initiate communication to find out how our changes may impact each other. Here's another example of how well Adept manages relationships. In many systems, if I were to rename one of these documents or drawings or move them to another folder, that relationship or reference will be broken. In Adept, even if I were to move a document or rename it, Adept manages all the relationships so that the next time it's opened in AutoCAD or MicroStation, everything resolves correctly and accurately. And finally, the Thumbnail tab that lets you get a quick peek at your documents. However, that is just a quick peek. Next, let's look at Adept's integrated viewer from Oracle called AutoView that lets us view, redline, print, and convert hundreds of different file types. Adept's integrated viewer can be accessed from the View File menu. It supports hundreds of different file formats, such as 2D and 3D CAD formats, images, PDFs, Word, and Excel. This is extremely useful to people in your company that want to be able to review, print, and comment on documents without requiring CAD or application software on their systems, and is a big cost saver. Let's take a look at a few examples. 2D CAD documents. 3D CAD formats such as SolidWorks and Inventor. PDF documents. Word documents. Excel spreadsheets. And even images. Those are just a few examples out of the hundreds of formats supported by the viewer. Now, the keyword I used when describing this viewer was integrated because you have control over the features your users have access to. I can view, mark up, print, and convert this document into a PDF or image. However, some users may only be able to view and mark up. The printing and conversion options would be grayed out and inaccessible to them. This is true whether they're using the viewer from the desktop client or our web-based viewer. In this scenario, we're assuming the role of a project manager, kicking off a new project to upgrade our pressurized tanks to meet new regulations. As part of that process, I may use the markup language in the viewer. This includes leaders, notes, sticky notes, highlighting, even creating your own symbol and stamp libraries. As part of that process, I may zoom in and zoom out in the drawing, turn layers on and off. But for this situation, I'm simply going to create a new leader markup with the comment, tank upgrade required. You'll notice below that the red line of markups are tracked by user and time and what their comments were. Think of this from a collaboration point of view. You no longer have to print out documents to redline them or maybe send them around and clog up email. Each person can redline in the viewer, see each other's red lines, and highlight them to view them in the drawing. We'll now save our red lines, and back in the Adept desktop client, everyone will know there's a markup for that drawing by the red symbol. Now that we have marked this file for change, let's look at how you may assign this document to be worked on, or use a change request form such as an ECR or ECN. The informal way of assigning work in Adept is to use the Assign feature. Our document has been marked up, and we're ready to assign it to Chris to work on. Optionally, he may receive an email notifying him of the document or documents that we've assigned him, and a small Adept link that brings him right back into Adept and lists those documents. So we no longer have to send those documents around in email hoping people are accessing and updating the correct drawings or documents. In addition to the email, he may also view his assignments or responsibilities in his personal inbox. A lot of users start their day in their inbox to see what needs their attention. To begin working on this drawing, Chris may sign it out to his work area. He may work on it for a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a month. When he's completed his work, he simply would sign it back into Adept. It knows where it was signed out from and will automatically sign it in to that same library. Let's go through a slightly more formal change process by using a change request such as an ECR or ECN, and then progress through a workflow to approve the changes. Adept provides the capability for you to provide templates for any type of document you use, such as drawings, assemblies and parts, Microsoft Word, and Excel. In this example, we will use our File New option to create and send a new ECR based on a Microsoft Word form template. We will send the ECR to our plant engineers to implement a required pressure tank upgrade. The change request will include details about the change and link supporting drawings and documents together throughout the process. In our list of templates, you see our change requests and various other types of documents that we've defined. We'll choose our change requests. You can supply a name or use Adept's auto naming feature to create your own naming formats for everyone to use as a company standard. We will choose our ECR heading, and Adept will supply the next available number. A new file based on your template will be placed in your work area. In this example, I have a simple Word document that allows for data entry in the grade property boxes. We'll fill in a few pieces of information. Our tank upgrade, description, client name of ProChem, and just a few other fields that others will be able to use and search on when trying to locate documents. We'll save our changes, and you may also want this document to be related to the various drawings and supporting documents. Using any of the search or browse mechanisms, we can identify the drawing and supporting documents that belong with this ECN, so the engineer gets a complete picture. We'll go into our file guide view of our project, go right into our East Plains facility, and get the proper documentation and pictures of any type of document that might be useful. The idea is that when someone receives this ECR, you want them to see all the related information for this change. Up to this point, the document is only accessible by you in your work area. When you want others to see it, you would sign it into a library. A library is a Windows folder that you have asked Adept to manage and secure. Some libraries may have workflows associated with them, as indicated by the red check mark. We will wait to cover workflows when we sign in our CAD document later in this presentation. So for now, we'll assign this into our ECR ECN library and assign it to someone to work on. They may optionally receive an email that includes information about the document or ECR assigned to them, and again our small links that we discussed earlier in the presentation. Once Chris reviews this ECR and scopes out the necessary changes, he is ready to sign out the drawings and begin working on the project. To show you how Chris may sign out the drawing and make these changes, let's transition to Adept's task pane integration inside of AutoCAD. Adept's task pane integration is designed to give AutoCAD users easy access to their files and information, all while keeping them in AutoCAD. The task pane has three main areas: searching at the top, results in the middle, and actions at the bottom. Users may perform quick searches on documents using one or more pieces of information that they know. Here are all the documents that I have access to for the East Plains plant. File guide views can also be used to locate documents in a logical, meaningful way inside of AutoCAD. I like my documents sorted by project name, and then the plant, and then the discipline. Once you've located the drawings of interest, information is shown in the results panel. The columns of information in the results panel can be customized by each user to show information that's important to them. More information is available in the action area. We have thumbnails for a quick peek at your documents. Relationship information to show you all the references and their status. You can quickly see if anyone has related drawings signed out and initiate any needed communication before making your changes. Even where used information to determine the scope of your change. Here we see our ECR that was assigned to us that was related to this drawing change. A good example is a drawing in our West Canyon plant that shows relationships to other drawings. So I know that if I change this XE drawing, I impact 3 other drawings. Once we are ready to begin working on our drawing, we can choose our action. We can open it read-only just for viewing, or maybe copy it out and rename it for reuse purposes. For this project, you want to sign it out, so we simply drag and drop it to our work area to begin the sign out process. Now that it's signed out, we can begin making modifications to our drawing. The ECR documented a required tank upgrade. We'll simply make a change and remove the old tanks in preparation for the new tanks. Our changes are saved, and we're now ready to sign it back into Adept. From our task pane, we can right-click to sign in our drawing, or if we want others to see our changes but still have work to do, we can sign it in and out so everyone knows we're still working on this drawing. Access and control of your documents from inside of AutoCAD is easy and efficient. The goal of Adept's task pane integration is to keep your designers in AutoCAD and provide them with the tools they need to stay focused and productive. To best demonstrate our next topic of workflow, I'll go back to the Adept desktop client to sign in this drawing and follow it through the workflow process. The Adept workflow feature is flexible and helps you automate simple and complex business processes. When a file is added to or signed into Adept, you may configure a workflow to automatically begin. Let's continue to follow the drawing from our project to upgrade our pressure tanks through this change process. In the previous section, we showed you how to sign out the drawing, make changes, and see valuable information about your drawing from Adept's task pane integration inside of AutoCAD. Now that our changes are complete, we are ready to sign our document back into Adept, where it must go through an approval process before it becomes available or released for actual implementation and construction. Workflows may be associated with a library or at the document level. We know that this library has a workflow associated with it by the red check mark. On sign-in, your document will follow your predefined routing paths and workflows, it may include email notification to the individuals responsible for this step. The email shows that this drawing is part of the design review workflow and is currently on the CAD Manager step. It also includes a link that brings them right back into Adept to list those documents or drawings that they're responsible for approving. You no longer have to send them as attachments, clutter your email system, and have them saved in various PCs and systems throughout your network. In addition to the email, they will also see that they have been assigned this document in their personal inbox. We can see more information about this drawing's workflow in the Workflow tab of the Relationship Browser. We see that it was signed in by Chris, and that it's currently on the CAD Manager step of our design review workflow, waiting for approval from Chris or Janet. When Chris or Janet approve this document, it will move on to the Project Manager step, where it needs 2 approvals from that group. Once it is approved by the project managers, it will then become the official released version of that drawing. When Chris or Janet are ready to review the document, the WIP tab shows the current approved version and the work in progress version of our document. Using Adept's integrated viewer, we can graphically compare the documents to see in color what has changed. This lets us quickly verify that the required changes were made and, just as importantly, that no additional changes were made outside of the ECR that you did not expect. Using the Analysis Compare option will open a third window that will show us the differences of our drawing in color. Here we can see that the old tanks were removed. Red specifies deleted items, and green would specify items that were added to the drawing. When Chris or Janet are done reviewing these changes, if they're happy with them, they can approve the drawing, which will move it on to the next step in our workflow. For this step, they must enter a comment before the Approve button is activated, just to make sure they're paying attention and we get any feedback. Once approved, it will move on to the next step in our workflow. We can see that on our Workflow tab. We are now waiting for the Project Managers group to get our 2 final approvals. When we get those approvals, then and only then will the version go from review to an in status, where the document is accessible by others. Let's take a quick peek on how you might configure and manage your workflows. Here we see a list of all of your workflows that you currently have defined. We just took part in the design review workflow. Taking a look, we see that it has 3 steps: the Originator, CAD Manager, and Project Manager steps. We can add and remove steps and change their order. If we wish, we can send an email on final approval to all stakeholders to let them know that this document has now been released. We may also send out email alerts if this workflow takes too long. Oftentimes, project managers will send an email alert to themselves. They reference the Workflow tab to see which step it is on in order to follow up and try to help the process move forward. If we take a look at this CAD Manager step, we see that we can add and remove individuals responsible for approving this step. We can determine how many of those individuals need to approve it before it moves on to the next step. We can even send them an email notification when it's their turn, or alert if this step takes too long. There are also many advanced routing options that allow you to configure each step to behave exactly how you need it. You may assign some users the workflow admin role. This does not mean that they have any system admin privileges such as setting rights or adding users. They can simply administer your workflows. Let's take a look at some of the security options available to Adept system administrators. As an administrator of Adept, you control the access and rights to your libraries and documents. This is done through a single user interface called the User Group and Library Admin feature. On the left, you see the list of libraries. A library is nothing more than a Windows folder structure. that you have asked Adept to secure and manage for you. Depending on the library or library selected, I can see the groups of individuals that have some type of access to those libraries. These are the groups that have access, and these are the groups that have no idea that library even exists. They do not show up in searches or any browsing features. When I select a group, you see its members listed below. You may add and remove members from this group from the list on the right. You then set the level of rights for each user in the group. Adept provides 4 general levels of security: viewing level, editing, checking, and document management level. You can choose the general level of access for the user and then dial in specific options. For example, the CAD Manager group may start with the editing level security. However, we do not want them to print documents or edit protected fields. Another group, such as our vendors and contractors, have another set of rights for these libraries. We may give them the editing level, or maybe just start with the viewing level. And from there, we want them to mark up, but we do not want them to copy or print. They can just view and mark up. But we will assign them the right to assign documents to other users. As you can see, Adept's permissions go well above Windows Explorer permissions and give you complete control over your documents and how they are accessed. Adept also provides Active Directory integration. You may import your users and groups from Active Directory and optionally link them in Adept. This means that if your IT administrator disables an account in Active Directory, the account is also disabled in Adept, making administration of users secure and always up to date. Let's finish up by covering some additional feature sets in Adept that you may find valuable, such as Transmittals, Outlook integration, and Adept's web-based clients. Adept's Transmittal feature provides a fully auditable process that allows you to quickly create, send, and track packages of documents internally and externally. Organizations must effectively manage and control their valuable engineering documents to reduce risk, manage cost, avoid schedule delays, and eliminate costly rework. This information may be transferred between engineers, consultants, general contractors, operators, and many other groups. Let's use a very simple example of a transmittal or package of documents that must be sent during the design and construction phase of a new plant, the time when the largest number of players and the most significant changes occur. Creating a new transmittal is done through the File New menu, and you may define one or more templates for the transmittals depending on their purpose. In this case, we're going to create a transmittal for our West Canyon project, and we could give it a name or use our auto naming feature to use a standardized naming convention for the transmittal. In this case, it begins with a TR. We supply the project number, and then the next available number is appended by Adept. Now we could create a series or a single transmittal, which will show up in our work area as a PDF document. Adept also includes a transmittal editor to make it easy for you to supply the information for your transmittal. You may define companies. In this case, we're sending our transmittal to the ProChem company. Within that company, you have primary contacts to choose from, or maybe a distribution list of individuals that should be CC'd on this transmittal. As you can see, it started to fill out the data that will appear in our transmittal. There's also a transmittal data tab where you can specify the fields that need to be filled out before the transmittal can be sent, such as the purpose, maybe a due date, or any notes that you may want to type in to the recipients. For transmittals that you send consistently, perhaps for a job or a project, you can create a collection of information based on those jobs or projects. For example, for this West Canyon project, this is all the information and the fields that we chose to include. You can customize those fields and information for each job or project. Again, automatically filling out the transmittal with that information. Now that we have our information filled out about the transmittal, we'll begin to attach files to the transmittal that will be included in the package. To attach files, we simply close our dialog, go back to our transmittal menu, and pick Attachments. At this point, we can choose any of the searching and browsing techniques. We locate our drawing or drawings that should be included. We can even include images or maybe Word documents of requirements, spreadsheets for project scope data, or specifications in a PDF document. Once we're happy with our attachments, we can preview the PDF and take one last look before we sign it in to our library. To sign it in, we simply drag and drop or right click to sign it in. And at this point, we choose the library where this new transmittal will be stored. In this case, I have a transmittal library set up. We do not have a workflow associated with this library. It does not have a check mark, as we covered workflows in a previous section of this presentation. So at this point, we're ready to sign it in and make it available to others. Now that we're ready to send out the transmittal, we can choose the Send Transmittal option. If this transmittal did go through a workflow and needed approval, this option would be grayed out until the final approval was made. We'll send our transmittal, and now we have options of sending it to our primary contact that we specified, giving it a subject that will show up in the email. You can see our distribution list that we selected. We could send just the transmittal, just the PDF of information, as maybe you have an FTP site where they'll download the documents from. If it's an internal transmittal, you may just include links to the document. Or you may include the documents as attachments and possibly zip them up and convert them to PDF before sending. In this case, we're simply going to attach the documents and send them to the necessary recipients. We can now personalize our email before we send it along, and we get confirmation that it was successfully sent in Adept. When someone finds this transmittal through browsing or searching, whether it's 6 months from now, a week from now, or a year, they'll see all the information about the transmittal in the relationship browser. All the documents that were attached, the versions of those documents that were sent for that transmittal, and a complete audit trail that shows you who created the transmittal, who edited the transmittal, what documents were attached, who sent it, and who it was sent to. Adept's transmittal feature gives you the tracking and information you need to meet your toughest reporting requirements. Now that we've looked at how you may package and send out documents, let's take a look at how you may handle documents that you receive via email in Adept. Adept's integration in Outlook allows you to save emails and their attachments directly into your Adept Vault. Whether you're receiving documents from other team members or outside contractors and vendors, Adept helps you track important emails and manage their attachments. The Save to Adept plugin allows you to save your email. It converts the email to a Word document using the body of the email as the body of the Word document, and the subject of the email as the title of the Word document. You then choose the library where you would like to save the email, and Adept will save the email and create a relationship between the email and the attachments. At this point, it is processing the files, extracting properties and attributes from your drawings and Word doc and Excel documents to populate your Adept database. Those fields can now be searched on in Adept. When complete, we get a verification message, and if we look in Adept, you'll see the Word document has been created, and the relationship has also been created between it and its attachments. We can now see information about the children. The audit trail shows when it was uploaded and by who. So 3 months, 6 months from now, when people find this email, they'll know exactly what was attached. And because Adept manages relationships so well, you could move this drawing to another library, rename it, but when people find the email, it will still accurately list the attachments and the information about them. This feature makes it easy to save important emails into Adept and link them to your projects, jobs, or documents. Next, let's look at Adept's web client to see how your users may access their documents, drawings, and information right from their browser. Adept's web client gives your users the ability to access documents from their browser and provides a powerful set of functionality based on the features of the Adept desktop client. For example, say you have individuals in your plant, such as maintenance engineers, that need easy access to drawings and information to solve an important production problem, or a contractor that needs to reference or review drawing plans for a construction project. They can search, view, and maybe even mark up documents right from their browser. They may search for documents using the search cards that you've created for them. Here, a maintenance engineer may be searching for files for project number 139, but specifically for the East Plains plant. These are all the documents they have access to that met the search criteria. Viewing their documents is also easy. Integrated into Adept is an Oracle viewer called AutoView. Right from their browser, they have full functionality to view hundreds of different file types: PDFs, Word, Excel, 2D and 3 CAD drawings, assemblies, and parts. Here we see the drawing that we've discussed earlier in our presentation. We see the markups that have been made in the desktop version, but now are being viewed through the browser. You can control access of what features they have available to them. I may be able to print, convert these documents to PDF or an image, or do a save as to my hard drive. But other users may log in and that may be grayed out. They may only be able to view and mark up. This requires no CAD or application software on the user's system and allows you to consistently control access to your documents even from a browser. Adept's web client also gives them access to library card information. And they also have access to the relationship browser, so you can see things like where this document is used, its children, version information, even workflow, audit trail, thumbnails, and the other tabs that are also available in the desktop client. When searching or browsing for documents, they may also use the file guide view. This allows your users to access their documents in the Windows Explorer-like structure, but sorted in a way that's meaningful to them. Maintenance engineers may search by building name and then discipline, or maybe their job number and the product type. Those responsible for HVAC may go directly to the plant and to the discipline that they're interested in, immediately getting to the documents that are important to them. Users are always finding the latest approved document and can control the information that is displayed in their column headers. Some individuals, if you have given them the right, may download documents. Adept will package them in a zip file and allow the user to save it to their system. Depending on their role, they may be able to assign and unassign documents to others to work on, or even reject, approve, and reroute workflows right from their browser. Adept's web clients provide quick, easy, and secure access to your documents and provide a platform for your diverse teams to collaborate and communicate no matter their location. We've reviewed a lot of information today and would be happy to answer any additional questions you may have. Please visit our website at www.synergissoftware.com for more videos and content.